All made it back to the championship ring.
All right, guys, welcome back. Hopefully you're back for this, episode 4?
Episode 4.
We've got something pretty special lined up. We've got a couple guys out of Southern California that we're going to talk to. You might know. One is number 42, Byron Hortin.
And 5150, Byron Northcutt.
So we're going to jump over. We're going to give them a call. We'll get them on. And we'll be right back.
All right, guys. Today we're here. We're talking with some of our favorite California guys, Byron Hortin and Byron Northcutt. Welcome in, guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
We're glad that Byron could join us on short notice.
Yeah, it was a hard commute over here. I mean, I had to walk from Brian's shop to his garage.
So
there's a few.
First off, Brian, how long have you been driving, and how did you find your way into Demolition Derby?
So this is year 25 for me, and I got in because my dad did it. Right there in Colville, my dad derbied all through the late 80s and early 90s. So growing up, I watched him a lot, and then he pretty much stopped in 92, 93, somewhere around there. And then I couldn't wait till I turned 18 to get in a car and run. And so Evanston was my first one right after the year I turned 18.
But was your dad as crazy as you are behind the wheel?
I don't remember very much exactly how good he drove, but I've heard some stories. So I've seen some pictures. And last year he hasn't driven in 30 years, and I built him a car last year to run in Chino, and he took a wire car and one Mad Dog in it. So guess the apple didn't fall too far.
Still in the orchard.
That's awesome. Byron, same question. How long have you been driving, and what got you into Demolition Derby?
So to answer that question, I need you to lean back just a little bit to see where it says established. And it's since 2003. So about 23 years, 24 years.
Holy cow. We're pretty close to that.
Yeah,
about the same.
Yeah, and I got started because my dad. I was gonna say my dad and uncle started doing it. My dad would help my uncle build, and then my uncle went out and drove, and he was kind of a hothead too behind the wheel, and I was like, well, I better live up to that. So I tried.
I think you live up to it. I've watched you a couple times, and normally you go into a heat fresh and you come out nose straight.
Fresh. Yeah. That's usually if I remember the heat or even the dirt.
Next question. How did the two of you guys meet? Was it through Demolition Derby? Or
through Demolition Derby, 2007 or 2008.
6.
I believe it was 6. Yeah, it was 6 or 7.
Grinder.com.
It was Bumble back then, right? No. Showed up at the Delmar County Fair, and I think he had 3 or 4 cars they had built, and I had just shown up by myself because I'd only been here in Cali for 5 years at that point. So I introduced myself, and we really didn't talk much that year. And then it was as the next year was coming up, I reached out, and then I went over to his house and helped him build a 64 Imperial to go to Victorville. And then ever since then, just kind of been building together ever since.
Have you two ever had to battle it out on the track?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. At India. I just my memory on Facebook a couple years ago, I had built a 03 Vic and grafted a 67 Imperial K member in it, and then I had it left over, so I let him run to the Indio, and I was in a 67 Imperial, and it got down to the both of us, and we went backed up and nose to nose until I climbed over his bumper, which was my own bumper, into my own motor with my own pointy, and then and so I broke a lot of my own stuff, but since we hit and I climbed over and we stuck, they actually gave us a tie for first. So
That's awesome.
They made us kiss fight out in the pits. I won.
yeah, he got the he got the 6-foot trophy.
Yeah.
It's sitting at his house.
Well, technically in your shop now.
Down the shop, yeah.
Now, how close do you guys live to each other? Are you guys in the same
15-minute
town,
drive.
or
It's about 8 miles, but it's a lot of stoplights in between. But it's literally 8 miles away.
and do you guys build together regularly now?
Pretty much since 08, 08, 09, pretty consistently.
I talked
Back then we would build that. I'd have cars at my house. We'd build, and he'd have cars. Like we would just switch from one weekend at my house, one weekend at his house. But now that I built the shop in the front yard, now it's a lot more comfy being out there in the shade versus in the driveways. So
100%.
and
And a lift.
up until 3 years ago or 2 years ago, neither one of us had ever built a car with a lift. So having a lift changes everything.
I got my first lift in like probably 2015, and I'm telling you right now, if I don't have a lift, I'm done. I'm quit. I surrender.
Yep.
I want to slap
Agreed.
you.
Like it is so much better on the knees, the back, the neck, and I think it speeds up the build, and I definitely think it helps make a cleaner build.
I agree, 100%.
So I talked to you on Friday, Brian.
Yeah.
You told me you guys had a huge chore list. What was that, and what were you guys doing?
We started with 9 cars on Thursday night, stripping them. We had 5 wire cars, 4 iron cars. So we've already filled a 15-foot dump trailer twice, taking it to the dump, and
we're still not done.
And we're still not done.
Oh man,
we got all 5 wire cars stripped except for hoods and windshields. That way, it's supposed to rain all week, so didn't want the rain to go down on the dash and all over the motor. But 3 iron cars, pretty much 100% stripped, except for one still got the motor in it, but no interior, nothing else.
Are you guys doing that by yourselves, or do you got other friends, your wives, kids? Who's helping you?
All the
Yes.
above.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it was on Thursday night. It was just me, Byron, and my wife, and then Friday night was me, Byron, both of our wives, and then Saturday we had like 5 friends come over. They like to chip in and stuff. And one of the wire cars is actually for one of the guy's kid, 13, 14.
14, yeah.
14 would be his very first derby. So
my kid's building his second wire car.
so his kid's 13 or will be 13. And so a bunch of wire cars for them, and then both my wife, his wife's driving, and then I still got to find a minivan or another car so my dad can come down from Evanston and run. And so we got to build that and strip it. So we're getting there.
sounds like you guys are super busy.
Of course, 2 of those cars are AKA, Wasatch Wipeout old iron wire cars.
Awesome. So, speaking of like all the cars, you said you had wire cars, weld cars. What's your favorite rule package? And it's probably changed over the years, but what are you guys currently building to?
Well, the wire is just like it says, it's 80s wire. So you got to run the stock motor, tranny, keep the dash in it basically, which we like those because it's fast, easy cages in them, wire the doors and done. Weld cars, I mean, we want to build cars where we can run Imperials, but they won't allow none of those down here.
Chino rules with Imperials would be awesome.
Yeah.
Fresh fixer plates.
We like the all thread bumper straps, hard nose the bumpers. You can build the rear ends we run are just non-brace, but they're 35 spline. Stuff like that. That's quick and easy, but at least you can make it through a heat and a main, and maybe hopefully take it to another show once they add the other plates, the other fixer plates after. But both of us, we used to run back, 8, 9, 10 years ago now. There was no rules down here basically, and so we would build cars that were plated, 3/8 half-inch plate from the front bumper to the back bumper, even on a unibody Chrysler. Mainly we drive Imperials, and you'd go out and beat the living shit out of each other to win $1,500, which was dumb. But
Still did it.
after that, we just got tired of the real heavy builds. Granted, that's not like a heavy build like your rules. That was just heavy, dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still love like the heavy builds, but they are becoming so much time that it's just really, really hard to keep, turning all your time into that one particular car. And so, like the wire cars, I feel like I can build 2 or 3 of those in the same time.
Easily,
Yeah.
maybe 5.
It gets expensive too. Yeah.
That's the other thing
Yeah.
too is we just you're dumping so much money in there. We were breaking trannies when the softer rules, breaking trannies and stuff like that, and just kind of wanted to get away from the whole $1,000 for a set of spindles,
$8,000
$8,000 rear end, and then you get a tranny with a tranny brace and a bell and a tail, and it just nothing against the guys that do it, because I love going and watching them. I just don't like building like that anymore.
Yeah, and see, like right now, I feel like I have a love for both, because I still like driving the hard cars, but I'd much rather build a wire car.
I would love it if somebody built me a hard car. I'd go drive it. I just don't want to build it.
Me too.
I tried Tyson and Derek to build me a car all the time.
Well, I think you just got to get on the list. Somebody will fall for it.
Well, you did
Well,
one in.
they want me to pay for it. That's the different story. I want it for free. I just want to show up and have fun.
I just want to be Dale Earnhardt. Show up, get my car, drive it, go back to the trailer.
Right. I think that's all of our dreams. Oh
Yeah.
Over the years, how many derbies would you say that you've drove in? And of those derbies, what's your favorite win?
Good. Mine would be my first one, just because I started in 2000 and it took all the way till 2010 before my first win. And it was funny. I used to ride on my car like I think I was 0 for 78 derbies before I won my first one. I'd ride on the roof every time. I'd paint over 79, whatever. And my first one was an Ironman derby, and
Paris.
at Paris,
Yeah.
and I took a 65 Imperial. Once again, it was plated from front to back. And I had ran it at Evanston for 3 years, and every year something dumb would happen. Got put over the dirt, broke the ignition switch, first hit. Like it was cursed in Evanston. And so I brought it down here, and he had just junked a 64 Imperial. And so we took everything out of it: motor, tranny, rear end, driveline, front bumper, put all that in mine, and then plated the frame for a month. And then went out there, and it was 26 cars. And I was fortunate enough to win. And that's probably my favorite, just because you've done it for so long to finally win. It's different. I put my wife in a car. She won like 3 years. Like our fourth derby, and it took me like I said, I think it was 0 for 78 on the roof of that car.
Holy cow.
I don't remember how many it took me or how many years, but my favorite was probably Laughlin Avi Derby. That was a good time. You drive out for the weekend, maybe 4 or 5 days, have a little staycation for a while, gamble, get drunk, go derby in between, get drunk afterwards, stay at the hotel, do whatever you need to do. And I won that derby. I think it was the last year that they actually ran it. I was in a 68 Newport Fastback that actually Derek Shelley bought off of us, or off of him.
Yeah.
But it had an imp sub in it.
Yeah.
And we were out there beating on some old boy from Arizona in a loaded GM wagon. And it got down to my brother and I was on 4 good tires, and I hit him once. The front of his car snooted up like this. I backed up to the other end of the track and started coming for another bike to finish it. And the official ran on the track and waved me up. Stop, stop, stop. I was like, no, hold on. We're not done yet. But that was a good win.
Back way before we arrived here. This goes back when we were little kids.
Yeah. So
that Laughlin Derby he's talking about, or it was the year before, was our first time Derby. We derbied against my first time derbied against Mont Sweat. Mont and Ryan came down, Gumby.
That was the first year they filmed the pilot for Kings of Crash.
Yeah.
I had the unfortunate year I didn't put gear oil in my car and I didn't make it out of the heat.
I believe that next year, so it's probably the year Byron won. There's some Utah guys made the trip out.
Yes,
there.
There was the next time now. Yeah, Spencer came down, Payan, Christian.
I think that was Casey's first derby.
Case Barker. I think it was his first derby in that Ford wagon.
Yeah, and I came down just as a co-pilot, and it was a quite enjoyable little trip.
Yeah,
that was fun. I like that derby.
I mean, I didn't get to go. I know Justin went, but that would have been one heck of a derby with all you guys running to watch.
Yeah. Imps were allowed. The only problem there is it was all sand. So if you stopped at any point, you were just hoping somebody else came and just nudged you or something to get you free because you just.
It was also the advantage too because we had been driving there for like 5 years, so we knew like if somebody hit you and they were trying to push you, you just hit the brake and just let them sink and then just drive away.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, I know you guys drive more on the aggressive style. How many Mad Dogs would you say you guys have won?
Won or had stolen or
the downside, there's a lot of places down here where they just pick somebody out of the crowd to win Mad Dog, and a lot of the times that just goes to whoever the local guy is. But I don't know. There's a whole case down in the shop, a big old giant like 55-gallon tote that's got, I don't know, 20, 30 plaques in it. Those are all Mad Dog. Plus, I think there's probably close to 20 on the wall. So I don't know. I'd say over 50 combined easily.
Holy cow. I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, every time I watch Brian hit the track, it's like this dude's just got a throttle stuck and he's just holding on for dear life in there.
Yeah, I don't go to derbies to win. It's never been my goal. And I've tried. I've been there and I've went to a derby and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be calm this time. Like let's try to win some money, and that lasts in a minute. and then somebody hits me, or you just see these. The thing is, you always get that thing in a car, and Brad, I know you've seen it, and Nate, you too, where you just turn and there's the shot, and you're just like in Vegas.
Can't say no.
In Vegas, I was like, okay, let's go calm for a couple minutes, do a couple laps. And I just made that corner, and I was just like the whole length of the track into the trunk of that car. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, I have the GoPro footage of that, and I'm pretty sure that lasted all of it like 10 seconds.
It's pretty much.
The part for me is I always go out and I'm like, all right, same thing, be calm, think strategy. But then you get somebody that just hits you and you're like, they're trying to take me out.
Yep.
And then you just get pissed and that's the only target for the next 10 minutes.
And sometimes that can screw you big time.
Oh, it does more than it doesn't. But
it always screws you.
Or some idiot that starts at 2 because where he runs, this means go, not keep circling, and hits you, and then all of a sudden you come from behind and push him up over the wall into the grandstand and right in front of the press box. I wonder who that was.
It was green on prime, that's for sure.
All I know is I was still on the track. The other guy was out. Was that you, Byron?
That was me.
Yeah.
Because I hit you on 2 because I thought that meant go. And then I had talked to a few other people and I said, hey, I got McPhee. You guys get Brad. We'll try to take the Utah guys out. And I was hitting McPhee, and then all of a sudden I just heard it and I just went, oh shit. And literally boom, boom, boom. And I was like, it's a pretty good seat.
See, and Nate walked up to me and said, hey.
What are you gonna say?
It wasn't me. But they walked up to me today, and they says, "Throw this shirt on, make amends with Byron." So that's why I'm wearing the shirt.
Oh, okay.
So I remember that. That was first year of the Wasatch Wipeout, 2017.
Yep.
I had a lot of bad luck trying to get to that derby. The first year, the guy didn't finish my motor, so I missed it. Cost me whatever the entry fee was. The next year, I had the car ready to go, everything else, and that's when we had the bad fires down here. And there wasn't a single freeway that you could take to go north to get to you guys. So I called Johnny and Gumby, and I was like, "Hey, man, what do I do here?" They're like, "Sorry." I was like, "Oh, shit." So then I finally make it up there in that shocker wagon, and that shocker wagon was just cursed.
It was cursed.
It got put over the wall, then it came back in. It got the shit kicked out of it.
Soup rolled them in the garage.
And so I brought it back down here. I ran it at Indio. It caught fire. I was like, I'm done with it. And Brian's like, well, there's still a little left. I'll take it out. So he took it out. It caught fire again. And then it was just like, okay, this car's done. Just cut it up, throw it away. Make it a toaster. Make it go away.
It was still pretty straight. And we were just like, nope, strip it, throw it away.
I've had cars that are straight as narrow, and you're like, bad karma.
Yep.
Like, there's mojo in this car. Whoever owned it did something very bad.
Yeah.
And the car's not performing, and you just rip your gear out of it and give it away,
100%.
sell it, scrap it, whatever. But
I bought one of your cursed cars.
yeah, Scott ran one last year and won $4,000 in it.
Yeah,
And
that car of yours that I ran was the first time I ever placed in a derby.
there's just cars that I'm not feeling it, and I just know when to move on.
Yep.
Ironically, the cars I get from McPhee, whatever it is about those cars, they have some pretty amazing luck. Got that one Imperial from them. I think it won 5 shows. I mean, I was only driving one of them, but the other 4 times, my buddy won in that car 4 times in a row.
So what you're saying is buy a car from McPhee.
Always buy your cars from TJ.
Wait, does that work?
Because I got another car from him too that did. I can't remember which one it was, but it did awesome too.
So I'm going to call him, have him broker the deal, and then I'll go pick it up.
Yep, there you go.
So, out of 20 plus years derbying, what's one of your favorite stories with Demolition Derby?
I think mine was the year that I won Avi again. I had a little boy walk up to me, and he goes, "Will you sign this? It's off of your car." And I was like, "Oh, bless your heart, kid." I said, as you can tell, that didn't come off of my car because my car's still all together. And it was like my car was green, and he had this white piece of something. And I was like, but you know what? That's from the car that I hit, and I broke it off of his car. So give me this thing. So I signed it for him, and he just lit up. And I was like, I have a fan. Look at that. All right.
It's really amazing when these kids come down on the track at the end of the show. I mean, they're trying to grab any hunk of steel they can. They're ripping the sticks off the cars. I mean, I'm telling you what, you got to have your steering wheel on lockdown.
Yeah. So like at Chino, obviously I put USMC on my car, the flags and everything else. And I was standing talking to somebody else, and all these kids went up and started like taking pictures next to it because their dad was a Marine and stuff. And I was like, "Hey, do you guys want to meet the driver of that car?" They're like, "Sure." And I'm like, "Well, hi, how you doing?" They're like, "Where's he at?" And I'm like, "Hi, how you doing?" And they're like, "But who drove the car?" And I'm like,
You're like, me.
"Yeah,
Give me some credit.
Me. The fat guy that's all hot and sweaty and looks like he's covered in mud. That was me."
My 2 favorites would be, Vegas, of course, tops the list just because it was my first time getting to meet basically a lot of people from around the country. You know, you've talked to them all on Facebook or you've seen them all, but to actually meet a lot of them in person, that was cool. And I think I got more friend requests after Vegas than the other 10 years of Facebook combined.
It's because nobody wanted to get hit by you.
Yeah, but my I think UTC was probably my favorite because I've never, rolling through that tunnel and into that crowd, and down here like you just were saying with people on the track and the kids afterwards, they didn't do that a lot, the first 15 years I lived down here. So to be there at UTC and afterwards, I mean, there was a kid trying to take my roof sign off. He had a wrench and everything, and I was like, you can't have that. So that was one of my favorites. And plus I love Derby and the Guts, Derby in Utah, and I started up there in Wyoming and Colville and Camas and Morgan. Well, I never went Camas, but Morgan and stuff like that. So I love derbying up there with all the people I knew growing up and watching them as I grew up.
It's really awesome, like you kind of just touched on, meeting everybody across the country. Yeah. Because over the years, I've met a lot of people from coast to coast, border to border, and it's just awesome seeing the different ways of life each of these guys live. We all have different careers, different family lives, hobbies besides derby. And it's just really awesome getting to know people and seeing how different everyone is, and that derby brings them all together. So I really love that. And I love when the kids are down on the track at the end. It's one of my favorites, watching the facial expressions. And it's not just kids. No,
But yeah, you're meeting parents and stuff that they're just as excited as the kids are.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they've never seen this before. It's weird to me because I still meet people that have never been to a demolition derby, and I'm like, you have to go see one. Go see a good one. And I'm like, it's just something I can't explain. You just got to see it with your own eyes. It's awesome.
Well, being down here, there's nobody in like we're Socal, we're San Diego, basically, it's 25-minute drive to the border. So we're far south, and down here you mentioned demolition derby. Nobody knows what the hell you're talking about.
Oh, where you go around?
Yeah, where you go? You guys are circle track? No.
And then when they see it, they go, "You're hitting them on purpose." Yes.
Okay. And you put a $5,000 engine in there just to ruin it?
Yeah.
Funny.
I do enjoy, we went to Florida one year, and it was humbling because I went to support him and ended up driving his car in the main because he messed up his wrists and stuff. But just walking around, and you, like you say, you meet people and they're like, "What's your name?" Byron Northcutt. Are you that guy out of Southern California? And I'm like, "Nope, not me." I've watched your videos. You're like, "Sweet, that's cool." Just kind of getting your name out there and just people recognizing you is kind of like, "Oh, that's awesome. That's cool."
Yeah, it is awesome. So, speaking of Southern Cal and then Utah, what parts of Derby would you say are the same, and what would you say is different between the two?
It's all different. The biggest thing is driving style, I would say. A lot of the driving down here is all just meticulous. You're not
calculated.
You're not. You show up to Derby. You in Utah, you have 20 guys that'll junk you in one hit. You show up at Derby down here, you have 5 or 10. That will take that shot. Most guys want their car to last. There's guys down here that'll build a car and they'll run it the whole year. Mine usually don't do that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine why.
I explained it to my son one time. I said, I don't necessarily go to win the Derby because in 2012, who won the Derby in Heber? I don't know. In 2013, you remember when that yellow car? Yeah. Remember when that yellow car hit that other car and it pushed it up over the wall and up into the grandstands? And that dude was bad. That's the story that I like to hear is, the big hit versus, he won it for the 5th time. Cool. He also made 7 hits through the whole Derby.
Yeah, I get that.
I've only one time won first place and Mad Dog. And I've tried to do both a bunch, but it's like you either got to drive the conservative style or you got to drive hard. It's so hard to do both.
Yeah, but to me, isn't driving harder fun?
Watching Parker do that in Heber was the first time I'd ever been in person and seen it, and he deserved every bit of it.
Yeah. It's cool when that actually happens, because you don't see it often. Like I said, you either see that strategic driving or you see the guys just junking stuff. And so when you get to see both of it, it's pretty awesome.
So, what all we've talked about today, what does 2025 bring for you guys?
Heartache, disappointment.
Ho-
Yeah.
ho-
Jet.
Hopefully no naps.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Yeah.
no naps in the car this year.
Well, we were going to bring you a pillow, but we weren't sure.
Yeah, that'll work.
So the funny part about last year, him getting knocked in the noodle, I'm very well known. Like, I've had so many concussions over the years. When I die, I guarantee I have CTE. I already show symptoms. I can't remember shit, like everything that goes along with CTE. So it's like not uncommon that I tap my head. I'm like, oh. So he got knocked unconscious, and his family's like, "Oh my God, you got to stop derby! You got to stop derby!" And I'm like, "You, come on, get back in the car, let's go." And so it was like, wow, is that what it's like? I don't remember because I can't remember much, but
I will say I've had my noodle rocked a couple times too, but normally I come to pretty quick. I mean, it was 5 minutes afterwards, and I don't think Brian still knew where he was.
No.
Well, the first time I ran in Utah was at Tooele at Jared's Derby.
Yeah, KOD.
And I got knocked in the head, and they said that Brian was working on my car. I don't remember any of this. Danny Ogden was there, and Brian goes, "Hey, go grab a spare tire." And I guess I came back, and I handed him a lug nut, and he goes, "What the hell's this for?" And they just went, "Oh shit."
He got one of the rare ones where the guy was backing up and the bumper went through the window and just right on the side of the helmet.
Yeah. And I don't remember any of it. So I guess I still went out in the main event and I took fourth that night. So
it's because he was driving calm.
Yeah.
Forgot who he was.
That's one of my problems is usually if I just get dinged up enough, my son asked me, he goes, "Dad, how do you know how to derby still when you're in that?" And I'm like, muscle memory, I guess. I just keep going.
Yeah.
And I almost didn't drive. I almost didn't drive in the main that night. It was Brad. It was you yelling at me in the pits. You're like, just tell them to take that forklift, put you out in the middle of the arena. I broke the steering in the grudge. Like, just tell them to put you out there, and they did.
Is that the time you made Butch run for his life?
Yep.
Yeah. That one sucked too because, and I've had this numerous times where I go out there and I give it my all. I'm trying to hit everything around because I like that Mad Dog trophy on my wall. The heat ends, and you're like, "Well, who got Mad Dog?" "Oh, this guy did." I'm like, "Damn, was I hitting with my purse?" Like, I feel like I had some pretty good shots in there, but oh well. So then later on, they'll call you up and be like, "Hey man, sorry, we watched the video. We kind of screwed you. You did have Mad Dog. You had like 70 hits to the next guy's 40, so you should have been Mad Dog. Sorry about that." And I'm like, "Damn it!" Oh.
No,
that's happened to me numerous.
As a driver, you always feel like you're just driving hard, and then you go watch the video, and you're like, maybe I wasn't driving that hard or whatnot.
Yeah.
But the other thing is there's always others in Utah. There's always someone else just driving just as hard as you. It's just a matter of fact who gets that big hit or who gets that couple more minutes, I think, because I would say at least 80% of the derbies, you've got 5 guys that are always in the running for those Mad Dogs. And
it's hard
as a
too.
promoter,
like, what do you
it's
choose?
hard to make the call.
Yeah, what do you choose? The hit that, like, the one big hit that made the whole crowd stand up, or 10, decent hits,
That's the only trophy that's ever eluded my whole derby career is Mad Dog. Not that I haven't been in the running for one, I've just never got one. And now that you guys are coming to Heber, I don't know if I'll ever get one.
I'm pretty sure I got a big bullseye on my back this year.
For sure, I got one on my door.
We actually implemented.
Nate's wearing my bullseye on his shirt right there. That's what everybody aims for.
We actually implemented Mad Dog point system last year in Heber to try to make it more fair, because I learned real quick as a promoter standing on the berm, I'm looking at what's in front of me because I'm trying not to get ran over. I'm trying to make sure that drivers are okay after a hit. I'm, listening to the headset to see, like, is this person going to make a qualified hit before their 15 seconds is up? So I really feel like I don't get to see the other end of the track. And so we decided to get people in the bleachers, people on the berm, up in the timers, like booth section. So we have all these different views. I've got guys that don't even know who TJ McPhee is on that thing because I don't want like the hometown people just being biased and stuff. So we did an 11-point voting system, which had probably 25 people embedded into that point system. And I felt like it was pretty dang accurate because I didn't disagree with any of them. Not all of my first place choices won, but if my first place choice didn't win, my second choice did. And so therefore, I feel like it was pretty accurate. We're going to try that again this year. I just got to figure out a way to get the results faster.
I enjoyed that too. I was the whole time.
Yeah, he enjoyed it because he's got the Mad Dog.
Well,
trophy.
I mean, after the heat was over, I was like, who got it? Who got it?
If Brian doesn't get knocked out, who wins that?
Hold on. So let's start over. The first 3 minutes of that heat was hand down the raffle car driver.
Yeah, he was.
That guy was just junking shit.
Yeah.
And then the next 5 minutes, I felt like it was going Brian's way. And then Brian gets knocked out. I walk over to tell Byron what's going on because he's worried about Brian. And Byron's exact words was, "Who the F did that? I'm going to kick his ass."
I think it was, to quote it exactly, as I'm going to f up that gold card.
Which I think you probably had one of the best hits of the whole Derby that night.
I got that picture on my screensaver for my computer. That was a
that
great photo.
Probably my favorite hit of the whole night.
Yeah.
No, that heat was, if it wasn't the best heat of the whole weekend, it was right there. I mean,
I think both wire cars were. I mean, that the guy in the wagon and the I'm breaking on his name right now, but
Brady Barlow.
Yeah, we were chatting with him before because it was the same car Byron had ran the year before, and so we were like, hey, giving him a couple of quick tips and telling him some stuff about it. And I mean, that thing was just the little train that could.
That thing did not die. Justin still did.
Soon you and your brother was like, oh, they're done. Oh, they're fired back up again. Here they go. Oh,
Yep.
no, they're done. No, they're back.
Yeah, and I love the wire heats. But I've been enjoying that youth heat too.
Yeah,
it's been pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
And for different reasons too.
I mean, it's all the way around. You got like I said, you got girls got boys. I mean, they're both waylaying.
Yeah.
My favorite though in the youth heat is like when you got a kid who doesn't know what he's doing at all, and he's bouncing off the K rails, hitting cars, running over the dirt. That's good stuff.
Or you just see the helmet up, and then you see the helmet disappear because they're trying to hit your ass. You know?
Yeah, it's fun, but that was definitely a good heat you guys had. I think it's going to be just as good this year. We've got that team show that is just head to head. I mean, it's so fun to watch those. Like, it's just true competitiveness, aggressive. It's going to be fun.
Well, they're over pretty quick too.
Yeah. I mean, it's most of those heats are
they all make
fan.
jump fast.
Yeah. And I mean, you and I have talked about it, how different it's going to be because if you go to Gold Rush or Blizzard Bash, that arena is packed.
Yeah, like that's the other thing is, I don't know if it's going to be as aggressive. I don't know if it's going to be better. I don't know if it's going to be worse. It's like it's going to be exciting to see firsthand.
Yeah. Oh.
And then we have a whole new genre of wild singles cars coming in, which is going to be fun to watch too because that one's going to be wide open And there's a lot of names on there that I could see coming in for that Mad Dog. So it's gonna be interesting.
Is that one heat or is that heats in Maine for the singles?
It's scheduled to be heats in May. So they'll run heats on Thursday night. The grudge match will be on Friday, and the championship will be on Saturday.
Which that one anybody could win Mad Dog, anybody could win first place from the driver's list.
Yeah, it's a pretty even list. I mean, you take a lot of the bigger name drivers in this area. They're moved over to that team show side, and so we still have some big name drivers in the singles, and then we've got some new upcoming drivers that are looking to put their staple in there, and they may have felt outnumbered in the past, but this year there's a pretty level playing field, so it's gonna be good. Let's circle back to all these cars you got in your shop. Where are they all headed this year?
Well, it's only two places. I mean, there's we're taking 7 of them to Chino, and then two to Heber. That's the only thing we got signed up for right now. And I know a lot of guys are reaching out to us trying to get us to come to UTC and
Hurricane
and Juab, but Hurricane doesn't work because it's like I said, it's Easter, but we're also prepping for Stagecoach and stuff like that the following week. So that kind of limits us trying to go there. And I'd love to come up there and run Heber the one weekend, UTC the next weekend, Nephi the next weekend, and stuff like that. But it's a long drive, and they don't have all the spare drivetrains and everything lying around for all that.
Anybody watching or listening that wants to sponsor, hello.
And if I'm not mistaken, isn't Chino the week before Heber as well?
Yes. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
That's one of the bad things about me is Brian has
two drivetrains.
I don't. So we finished Chino where I tied for first with a gentleman down here, Ryan Doty, and it was literally take the car home, drive it in the shop. Sunday the car was stripped out, pushed to the side. The Heber car pulled in, and then we had to have it done by Wednesday morning because we left early Thursday to drive up to Utah, and we still had to work and do everything else in between. So
luckily our Airbnb had a garage that was empty.
Yeah, it was one of those that the car and anybody that knows me, it seems weird, but I'm real anal about the way that my derby cars look, so I can just go junk them. But they have to be clean. I vacuum them. I paint them. I'm real anal about how the paint looks. Like even the picture of where I'm hitting last year, the one picture, I can see marks where I missed on painting, and it just irritates the shit out of me. So like to not have the car finished and drive all the way to Utah, I'm like, somebody's gonna see me. They're gonna be like, oh my god, that car looks like ass, and I just it was driving me nuts. So it's quite the feat to try to get it done in that time.
You need to be like Nate and paint the car in May and then start building it. That way, if you don't finish the build, it's already painted.
Yeah. And there's a good thing about having one guy that's OCD and one guy that's not, which is me. But because he'll vacuum mine and his car 50 times, and he makes sure all the wires are done and zip tied and nice and tight, and I just throw shit in there and go. So
it's funny you say that though, because I probably vacuum my car 10 times from the day I pull it in to the day it hits the track. Yep. And I like it has to be clean of like all the little welding burrs and debris. And
so I'll get in his car and I'll start yelling at fucking kid, why'd you run this here? That shouldn't be here. This needs to be over here. What is this? And he goes, it works for me. And I'm like, well, it doesn't for me. So it's getting changed. Like,
so the past couple of years, I just go, hey, my car's ready to wire. Hop in there. And I just hand him the switch box. I'm like, all right, there you go. And I walk away.
That's awesome. That's one of the funnest parts about going to the derbies is looking at everyone's builds, because like I could take some of the best drivers in the nation and you go look at their cars and they are the most basic, just like thrown together cars, and those guys will will them to the end.
Like Rob from Canada. Like I've seen this car. Like you look at his car and you're like, man, like he's got a cross member for his halo, you know. But he's a driver, man. He wheels that thing, you know, all the way down.
Yeah, I sat in at Hurricane last year with Gumby and Eric Brown on their podcast, and we started talking about Joker. Joker had a stock steering column in that car, and I was like, he does the minimalist things, but he can drive it and he lasts. Like it's just
He's very smart and very calculated.
And he yells at all of us for taking the steering columns out of those Impalas and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys like that just are simple. Then you do get the opposite. The guys that spend thousands and thousands of dollars and they're the first ones out. But it's still cool looking at their car.
yeah.
I mean, I got the opportunity to tech at Gold Rush this year, and a couple of those cars that came through. I mean, there was one car, Psyopus. He had more time into his cage than my whole entire car. And I'm not joking you. I bet you they had 150 hours into their cage. It was
we said that
immaculate.
when we derbied against them in Florida. You know, it was my first time meeting them in person and seeing their cages and stuff, and it was like, damn.
And those cars hit like hammers too. I got tagged in I think it was the front end by one of their Cadillacs, and I was that an Imperial? Damn, that hurt.
Yeah, those guys built some amazing cars. I mean, there's a lot of builders out there that, well, you know, there's always someone that will drive harder than you. There's always someone that's going to build better than you. And that's what I think I strive for, is just to be a better builder. But I also don't want to put all that work in sometimes. So that's where I've been in the wire class, but I keep telling myself, like, it's a wire car. Quit trying to make it into this, like, immaculate weld car. So keep it easy, and that's hard sometimes. So
That's the funny thing too. Like the first wire car we built, like everybody's like, "Oh, you should be able to build it in like 5 hours, 6 hours, and be done." You know, and you know, we didn't know like the ground of the trunk. If that's not there, the car doesn't run. And so you're just cutting shit, and then then we trace wires for a day trying to get my wife's car to work again. And so now we learn like, hey, like anything that's a ground, wrap blue tape around it, write ground on it,
unplug it, don't cut it. Yeah.
Oh, we learned the hard way too. Christian Pyan had his car in my shop 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, getting ready for Wire Madness. And he drove it in the shop. And 2 days later, he went to pull it out of the shop and it wouldn't start. And he spent probably 6 hours before I got involved. And I helped for another hour to 2 hours. And we had no idea it was going. And we started testing every wire, and we went to the fuse box, and I hit the power on one of the fuses, and the car started up. So we shut it off. We hit power to that fuse again. It started up. That fuse was the radio fuse. And so we ran a jumper wire from the battery to the radio fuse, and he went to the Derby, took second place in Mad Dog.
Jesus.
So, like, after that was like, I'm not running a Crown Vic ever in my lifetime with stock wiring harnesses. Big old rat's nest.
I screwed up last night because we're helping a local firefighter here work on his car. And it's another one of those that it won't crank at the start or at the key. So we're trying to figure it out. So I took the column apart to see if maybe there's a loose wire, loose ground, something. And I pulled the top off. And when I pulled the top off, it broke the cylinder off and snapped the key inside the ignition. And I just walked in the house last night to Brian and went, so we get this to play with now. Whoops.
It's always something in this sport, but as stressful as it is to get the cars built, there's nothing better than pulling on that track.
No, that's the best feeling in the world. Especially
Nate used to make my shirts that said "Demolition Derby," the most fun you can have with your clothes on, and still stand by it.
True.
I get that question asked to me a lot. They're like, Like you spend like weeks or months building these cars to junk them in 5 minutes. And I'm like, it's like Vin Diesel said in Gone in 60 or Fast and Furious or whatever the hell those ones were. For that 5 minutes, I'm free. I'm good.
There's no other feeling like it. I can't describe it.
Everybody used to say skydiving was the one, so I'm afraid of heights, so I wouldn't do it. But I made him go skydiving just to see.
Demolition Derby's better, 100%.
That's awesome. Well, guys, it's been fun. I feel like we could talk for hours. But we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us. Excited to see you guys later this summer, and definitely want to circle back and see how the summer went for you later in the year.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So
Thank you, guys.
good luck on your builds, and we'll catch you guys later.
See you soon.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
All right, guys, we're back here in the studio. Just got off with Byron and Brian, and that was fun.
Yeah, those guys they're a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So
Those are the kind of people I wish I could hang out with more often.
yeah, I wish they drove more than one show in Utah a year. So we could hang out
or
with them
lived a
lot
little
more.
closer.
Yeah, for sure.
I think hitting like a cruise boat with Byron would be pretty fun.
Yeah. His shirt today killed me.
Yeah. It was good talking to those guys. I mean, we didn't get into it too much, but yeah, Brian has a lot of Utah connections here.
Yep.
Grew up here. His dad derbied and Coville stuff. His dad lives in mom and dad live in Evanston. It was great having those guys in. Super fun. I mean, literally, we could have talked to those guys for hours.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for tuning in this week, and next week.
You want to tell them?
What do we got next week?
Well, you guys are getting ready to hop on
Yeah.
a nice little jet. and-
Yeah, we're getting ready to head to Madison, Wisconsin. So our goal is to get either Sam or Chris on and talk a little bit of Utah Derby versus Wisconsin and do kind of an introduction to Wisconsin. Huge Derby, $50,000 to win with a $25,000 Mad Dog. So hopefully we get one of these guys on. We can talk about that, and that should be a good one.
Did you just say $25,000 to win a Mad Dog?
$25,000 Mad Dog.
Or a pay-per-view worth buying, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So hopefully next week we'll have a good one for you guys, and we'll talk Madison.
All right, guys, from Headers to Headphones, we'll see you next week.
Thanks.